If you're not updating your skill every day, you're out.
Well, that's not a quote. That's the reality. The quiet power moves no one sees coming.
Having a plan, keep it discreet, trusting your gut, firing like a founder, winning like it's a sport.
Welcome to the TrickCast. It's a mindset, and we've got two of them. Two different views, two different playbooks. One goal: uncover the tricks behind the business success. No fluff, no fake hustle, just real-world tricks from us and the leaders we bring on. If you're building something or thinking about it, hit play or stay behind.
All right, we're back today with Amir, the man, the legend, and the plan is to kind of discuss some of the biggest, shocking, most provocative, most consequential trends, news, topics that are happening in the tech world. So not just affecting the US or Germany, but kind of affecting potentially, global scale businesses and power moves and strategies. So we got something interesting. We'll try to keep it short, concise, straight to the point. On the list today, we have Trump Intel deal. We have what is the second one, Amir?
It's EcoStar and Boost.
That's right. And finally, we got the recent Meta layoffs. So that's going to be interesting to jump into. So before we start, Amir, what are your kind of overall thoughts? Where's the wind blowing in the past couple of weeks?
It's always good to see you, Alex. Always good.
Likewise,
I'm so happy
likewise.
with our weekly catch-ups now. So I'm looking forward to also have these catch-ups weekly with everyone who's going to be hearing us. This is the first of our weekly updates on current affairs in tech. Big changes, actually. Big changes. A lot of things happening. But I'm actually started to feel the wave where actually Trump now is really giving tech the right attention, or right or not right. We can debate it later, but it's given it attention. A very clear attention, and then it's reflecting in actually two incidents that happened this week. So let's dig deeper and let's see what happened.
Let's jump into it. And my go-to tool, as always, for LLMs is Perplexity. We're not sponsored by them yet. Hopefully one day. But yeah, I find it's a very good source of kind of pulling different perspectives, different sources. So obviously, Trump Intel deal, basically the US government gets 10% of Intel. And the main reason is, I understand from Trump's point of view, he's somebody who likes to make a deal. And his whole point was that if I'm going to be giving you free money as the government with subsidies and the CHIPS Act and all of this, I should be getting something back for it. So we don't want to give away free money anymore. We want to win for America. We want to win for our people. But whatever is the benefit that Intel will get from this investment, which is huge, he wants obviously the American people to benefit from it as well. And maybe I'll just throw in a bone that you can chew on from there, Amir. First of all, I think we'll both probably agree it's kind of a good thing that US politicians are actually giving away money and they're getting something in return, right? Whereas before, it seems like, it gets lost along the way and people take a little share here, a little share there. And then the bankers, like in 2008 crisis, get all the money and a slap on the wrist and nothing happens, right? Whereas now we see some potential responsibility, some potential return. Interestingly, kind of the opponents already start to criticize that this is a slow slide and a very slippery one to social potentially, right? Where we have something like the Chinese government, for example, that's not really private and public. It's a mix of the two. So obviously some mixed interest there that if companies start to have a massive equity owned by the US government, how does that change their decisions? Are they still going to take risk or is that going to become do what the government says or do you get punished? So let's kick it off there maybe.
The point is that I would like to look at this problem in two angles actually, or like this news. I wouldn't call it a problem, to be honest, yet. Let's see where it will fall. US government have stepped in many times actually and bailed tech companies or insurance companies or banks or whatever. 2008, you're right, you mentioned COVID, there was 3 trillion of bailouts paid to companies, but they've been always going out as bailouts. And that's a very big difference from what we're seeing today. Today, we're talking about critical mass of shares in a company actually. And one of the used to be big companies, like really was shaping the world technology. I would not take Intel deal away from the bigger picture of what is happening around us with the chipsets in general. Yes, it's a slide towards socialism, but also there's a new trend that is not social and there's not capital, and we still yet to see it. Like it's a sovereign fund investments, like PIF or actually Abu Dhabi sovereign fund or Egyptian sovereign fund. Many countries now are having their own sovereign fund, which is the investment arm of the government. And
I wanted to ask you this. Sorry to interrupt because I've been meaning actually, we haven't talked about this yet. So
yeah,
I was going to ask you, I really actually love the move, right? I thought it's a fantastic idea. You're going to give all these grants. You want to keep jobs and manufacturing at home. Fantastic. Let's get something out of it. I'm not sure that taking a 10% direct stake as the government is the best way to go about it. Obviously, you're in the venture space as well. You do deals with startups. So is there a way, that was my question, what would be a better way to structure this in a way that it doesn't creep into socialism and, kind of...
The point is, as a capitalist economy, the government has two roles: exclusivity on violence, to keep the economy running and make it an easy place for investors to work and create jobs. It's only two roads. You cannot do anything else in reality. Even in the modern capitalism, there's no even healthcare. Like it's all privatized. So you just be exclusive on violence and you make sure that your economy is growing. So stepping in and playing and finding different names to it, be it a sovereign fund, be it an act, be it a grant, I haven't seen it ending well anyway. But it's an equation. And what I like to say is that, and don't get me wrong.
What is the trade-off? If it's an equation, what is the...
Not just that. No, it's not about trade-off. It's an ecosystem. They have an equation. It's an end-to-end. And it's been working that way. If you start readjusting your puzzle on that level, it's really you are adjusting the tycoon. And when you are imposing things, you need to make sure you are abiding by the rules of your ecosystem. Otherwise, you shake the system. Not bad, but it's a revolution. And results of revolution are not actually always how it should go. So now back to that Intel deal specifically, it definitely has to do with chipsets. It's chipsets, it's AI, the world is moving into a completely fully digitized ecosystem. And I would say this is coming on a borderline, and that's why I mentioned the exclusivity on violence, actually. It's a borderline, actually, national security for the US, and that's how they are portraying it. This is how I think about it. Sorry, go ahead. You wanted to say something about the consequences?
Yeah, maybe I'll take us maybe like down a deeper rabbit hole. But before we kind of move on to that, where do you personally draw the line? Let's say Germany starts to do this, from next year. They say, hey, we don't invest in our startups enough. They have this big boost package that they decide to give out, and in exchange, instead of having it as grants, they decide to have some kind of shared interest in the company. So how would you do it the Amir way, a better way, with the same maybe concept or the same desired outcome?
My preference will not be actually direct involvement with the governments, for simple reasons.
I agree with you there, 100%.
Priorities are actually different. It's a flip of the pyramid. I'm not gonna talk about corruption or non-corruption. I'm not gonna step into the bad intentions part, even right intentions part. Priorities of governments are different from priorities of business. And as business, you need to be pragmatic. You need to work differently. You need to actually take some brutal actions at some point of time. As government, you are the umbrella for everyone. And when the government steps into this, then you are actually, I'm still taking my license from you. How are you going to draw that line? I'm acting to get my permit for my fire system in my house from you. I'm putting my kid into a school coming from you. There is no equal power here between shareholders. It will never be.
You got €500 million that you want to boost German production, German-made chip manufacturing, right? How do you distribute that money? How do you stimulate 500 billion worth of euros into those industries without giving it as a gift?
Yeah, but
so how would you go about it?
Contracts. As a business, what you really aim, it's like, it's a marketplace, right? You're a tech business. You are in the marketplace looking for two things. Either looking for contract to source funds or contract to sell products. What is easier than actually creating contracts and pay in advance to your contracts? Actually, funny enough, these deals started like this.
So you say, I want to build a couple manufacturing facilities, let's say 5 throughout different cities in Germany, open the bid to all the businesses that want to apply and let them...
Or I'm looking, exactly, if I'm talking about Intel from that side, I would just simply say, all right, I am actually putting out a bid and I will have preferential deals to my sovereign countries, to my sovereign companies that are in Germany. And I will actually start saying, I would like to source $2 billion worth of chipsets in Germany with that qualifications, and I need them over the coming 2 years, and I'm ready to pay in advance with these terms and conditions, and I will let everyone bid. So you put a deal on the table, actually, and then it's a free market deal. Then people actually also have to work hard. And funny enough, when you do that, FDI will come. because I will know as an investor that Intel had a big chance here because it's one of 5 that are existing in the market. And then I will start pouring money into Intel. The stock will increase anyway. Once you just put it in this way, my first 2 bids are actually preferential to my local or national players, if I can call it.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess the only concern there that maybe the whole bureaucracy would drag out a little bit long, and who knows? I mean, if there's a quicker way to do this, but I
it
definitely
will drag
agree
along
that's the
here
way
as
to-
well.
Yeah.
That's the point. What's worse, you having the bureaucracy dragging when you are outside, or now you suddenly having the bureaucracy drag because it needs one lawyer to put out a case and say Intel is not using the public money in the right way, and done. Like bureaucracy comes into your office for the whole coming 10 years in reality.
Yeah, understood. There's not a deeper rabbit hole I want to go, but maybe let's not focus on this topic too much. Let me just throw it out there and we can maybe come back to it at the end. Like I've done quite a bit of research. I like some obscure topics as well. And we see a lot of tech companies, especially Silicon Valley companies prior to maybe the past couple of years, often serving as a branch for the US government, research facilities and, kind of the deeper programs, military related programs, slowly roll out consumer technologies that they've actually had for the past 5, 10, 15 years. I believe Google there's a lot of examples with Google doing that. I think Google Maps was actually something that was given to them, like the first satellite given to Google used for Google Maps was owned by like NSA, or there's a lot of those kinds of connections. So do you see it as maybe that you got TSMC, now you got Intel at home? Maybe that's a way for US to push, let's say, more advanced research technologies into the consumer space in a way that's not completely disturbing to the market? Or, do you see that as a potential arm of the government in a way to roll out certain technologies that they're keeping in their back pocket?
This is how it have been working, actually, Alex. So it's been always like this, that the new tech would definitely come somewhere in a close. Very rare, actually, that a new real tech came out from non-governmental institutes. It will come out of academia, or it will come out of actually military research or a strong R&D in one of the big ones. But been always that the early adoption of tech will always happen in defense.
Yeah,
and then
100%.
it will follow to tech, and then telcos, ICT, digital infrastructure, and then it will start moving to the mass. It's a very controversial theory that started in the early 2000s called the product life cycle, and it's actually going to take us into a deeper talks in politics, which I don't want to do.
All right.
I would really like to go back a little bit to look at Intel themselves, how they end up here. So it's very interesting. It happened in front of us over the last 20 years. Intel was shaping the world, and then they decided to pass on 3 great opportunities: saying no to Apple to put the chipsets in the iPhone, saying no to cloud and forcing Google's and cloud providers and Microsoft to go source cloud solutions from anywhere else but Intel. Actually saying no to the pure technology, the ARM technologies. They said no to a source of technology completely, actually. And that's not the future. It really reminds me of Nokia on few decisions, or actually later many others, the Kodak. Like you say, why did you say no? And then, okay, maybe they will learn the lesson. And people are actually like, what drove the AI was chipset evolution, was actually gaming chipset evolution. And again, when the gaming came, no, we don't do gaming. No, we're Intel. Come on, like no GPUs. And then the GPUs became the AI. So you said 3 times no to what would
before
happen.
AI, just to jump in, it became Bitcoin mining, and you can't deny the demand in Bitcoin mining for GPUs.
Exactly. So clearly there is a fundamental problem here in the management of Intel, actually. And I'm not sure giving $9 billion for 10% is the solution. We need to sit and see in reality, and now the government is in a very bad situation. Do you gonna interfere in the business for your 9 billion? Oh, shit. Then it's socialism. You're not going to interfere in the business for the 9 billion, and they fuck it up.
You're giving money away for no reason.
For a wasted money. So really, want to see where that's at.
All right. So let's get into the next topic, the EcoStar deal. I'm totally uneducated on this, other than what I've read, obviously, in a couple articles. So why don't you take us off, maybe set the story, tell us what happened, and what are the major implications here?
Yeah. The reason I like to talk about this story a little bit this week, which not many people wouldn't notice what happened here. So a few years ago, there was an acquisition for T-Mobile T-Mobile acquired Sprint. The FCC, which is the communication regulator in the US, is one of the unique regulators in the world that actually has certain foundations, rules of doing telecom business in my country. And one of those rules that they always insist on having fourth player in the market. So when T-Mobile Sprint merger happened, and let me just explain, because when you go to US, you will see maybe 150 mobile suppliers, but most of them are MVNOs. It's only 3 big orchestrators that can deliver everything. So the FCC awarded Dish, which was a cable TV provider in reality. Sometimes what even the synonymous of the word of cable TV is Dish. Wouldn't even like the antenna for the receiver for cable TV and satellite TV is called a Dish, and probably it's called Dish on them. So very big, strong actually business. At that point of time, they were trying to transform into something else because cable TV is dying. It's a cash cow that is leaving the place, but they have spectrum. And that spectrum is actually very, very valuable asset. Actually, for those people who may not know what spectrum is, it's a national asset. It's what's happening around us in the air. It's just imagine the air around us is like lanes of different speeds and different waves and different rules, and they can all run in parallel in a very science fiction futuristic way. And that's where your communication is going on. And those assets are normally leased or actually sold to private sector, similar to the rights of mining for oil. So you have the right to use that spectrum to start actually transmitting communication here. And that communication can be TV station, can be radio, can be mobile. So Dish steps into the game and say, or EcoStar, let's release a new brand. And over the last 15 years, we're going to be the biggest competitor when it comes to actually telcoscape in the US. We're going to build 5G network and let's be the fourth player that the market needs. And now, a few years along the way, they actually did. This story for me is having two folds. One, I like to classify telco or ICT providers into 3. So there is the digital service orchestrators, the ones who have it all. You own the infrastructure, you own the fiber, you own the data center, you own the core, you own satellites if you need, and you have also your teams and you give your services, and you might own many brands. And there's the digital service enablers, if I can call it this way. They have most, but they have a blended model and they try to go as lean as possible and focus on digital services. So if they actually use the network of someone else, it's fine. If they use their network, it's fine. But they have a kind of a lean operating model focused on this. And that's most of the operators nowadays. And then the last ones are like the pure digital, like 3 or Version or Labara or like almost MVNO, but mostly digital, no even store. And I think Dish, again, passed on few opportunities. You come into the market, you're seeing what is going to happen. Yes, they were set to fail because the 30 megahertz of 5G at this point of time mean nothing. And now they also mean nothing because now they are slower than what needs to be done. So spectrum-wise, it's a trap. And then mindset-wise, from a TV cable, it's also a trap. You cannot run with the same executives to run a mobile operator. And then passing on building that, as I looked at their investments portfolio over the last 10 years. They built 15,000 sites, a lot of stores, and they have a lot of retailer channels. You have good base actually, but with the same mindset of selling TV. No data centers. Operating centers are like 2 through the country, no fiber owned, and no gateways to the internet, no gateways to the international world, like international gateways. I don't want to use sophisticated terms. They almost build nothing except 15 sites and stores. That is a very strong strategic mistake. You don't know where you're going, and it ends up there. That's one angle, Dish. And I think this was a very bad move from them. Now they are being bailed out by 23 billion from AT&T, the way, whether you recall it or not. I will be looking forward to see what they will do with this money actually, because cable TV is done and infrastructure, I say they announced that they will continue providing telecom services through AT&T itself. So, but let's see what you're going to do with this money. It's a very interesting mistake. But the second lens is FCC. FCC has been always stuck on having a fourth player in the market for communication infrastructure providing. Do you think they backed off from their decision?
I'm not sure. You tell me. You're the expert in this space.
I actually think no, because that's where Starlink comes. It's a fourth player, but with just a different infrastructure. And actually, they will have fifth. Amazon's Project Kuiper as well.
Whenever you're talking about the different waves and frequencies, the first thing that came to my mind is the kind of the SpaceX and Amazon beef with who gets to control which altitude when it comes to their link satellite internet transmissions. Seems like the same thing playing out in space. So that's going to be interesting.
So it's like another layer of infrastructure, but now on the space instead of underground, like the fiber, and they are both delivering the communication. And the game in telco now, it is not actually which media you are on. It's what are you having on it. This is a very interesting angle. And I think FCC are actually going to surrender. My next bet here, there will be spectrum allocations to Starlink and Amazon to allow them to actually give more on that.
Interesting.
To act as the fourth player or the fifth player they needed in the market.
Well, we'll clip this one whenever it does come true. We'll just put a big heading, I told you so, right? Cool. And the last one, obviously, Meta had another set of layoffs. So 5% of its workforce gone. Zuck is saying that this is all due to performance, that basically the lowest performing people get let go. So what are your thoughts? What are maybe some ramifications of this? And we can get into some other potential implications for the tech sector.
The point is that what I like to talk about in parallel to this parallel story is the fees of AI recruitment. So just think about it. Like, we're talking about a place where Meta or Mark or whatever the decision maker in this scenario is, the whole market is talking about crazy salaries and compensations giving to the industry stars, creating super intelligence. And let's go run there and then pay like 250 million salary to that and 100 million to that. Or I'm sure that was an exaggeration in the media, but you get the message actually. And then a few months later, oops, let's freeze, let's lay off 5% of my staff. And the first, am I against laying off 5% of the staff? Actually, no. This is now tech industry is like musical chairs. If you're not updating your skill every day, and your chair's not there anymore, you're out. So tech fellows there, keep your eyes open, look at the trend. The same that companies are looking at the trends, you need to be looking at the trends. If you don't look at the trends, you are on a musical chair that doesn't exist. And one of those 5%.
And I shared this, I came across it on X. I thought it was hilarious, but yeah, it was about the offer that Zuck had apparently to the OpenAI engineers. So you could also argue that when you hire whatever it is, 10 people or 8 engineers that he poached from OpenAI, that's a lot of capital, a lot of stuff you can build that you don't really need your low performance based on that.
The point is, I think Mark has been buying his way on since he came into the industry. The team in Meta is missing the biggest problem that they have. So Instagram acquisition, one of the biggest acquisitions and the greatest that happened. Actually, WhatsApp was one of the greatest that happened. But then when they stepped into outside of their social tech territory, like Oculus and Reality AI, where's Oculus? Where's Oculus now? Where's Reality? Where's VR? Not there.
You got Snap glasses, Meta glasses.
Yeah, it's actually even minus in operating. Like I think last year it was minus 50 billion operating loss. It's like really dragging money out and not doing anything. And here's the bit that we need to stop at. The metaverse, where actually the new name is about, like you change the whole name and become Meta from Facebook, and was not a bad bit. It's a bad execution. It's still not there, and trying to go there, it doesn't work. And then another acquisitions like F1, the hubs, rural coverage and the infrastructure, and this completely disappeared. So, and now playing the card on the AI and trying to create your own super intelligence. You mentioned earlier you're using Perplexity. How many times did you even click the button of Meta AI?
Never.
Exactly.
Ever.
Exactly. So I really think actually, I've seen the announcements of the restructure and the super intelligence and the new chief AI officers. Looks like a great guy, knows what he's doing. And the new 4 sectors that they are creating under these departments and all of that, that's all great news, looking for structure. My main problem with that is they are missing the point. There is no clear alignment on purpose in Meta. Acquire whoever you want. It's not about changing the name. Look at Nextdoor, actually XAI, whether you like Elon Musk or not.
You mean macro hard?
Yeah. They just they get in the team and they're delivering. But what I like about the story of Elon Musk versus the story of actually Mark Zuckerberg is that when we talk about Elon Musk, we always talk about he's putting a vision first. And yeah, when you talk about actually Mark, there is an opportunity I would like, that's what you always feel. There is an opportunity I would like to capitalize on it. And that needs to change, because otherwise it's just like Meta will be next to Intel in the line few years along the way. And maybe no one even will bail it out, because I don't think even the social tech, the way we know it now, will continue actually having that importance. It's not how it is actually with Meta. What do you think?
Well, to be honest, I'm happy with, I shouldn't say I'm happy that people lost their jobs, but for the past 6 months, like personally being in the headhunting space, we've been recruiting a lot of AI engineers. There's a lot of very obscure, programming languages, like you got OCaml, you got Julia, you got some weird technologies that maybe like 1,500 people or 2,000 people worldwide are using, right? You got these weird new positions, synthesis engineers. It's very difficult to get good talent for that. And again, if you're looking in a very specific niche, in a very specific market in a certain country, you might have a pool of about 300 candidates. So whenever layoffs like this happen, it's kind of great for the second and third tier companies and the overflow effects of these big tech giants fumbling the ball, that this talent does go into smaller companies. And Like I personally hired some engineers who are like, these guys are like PhDs. They're 60 years old. They're writing algorithms for satellite communication. Like it's pretty fascinating stuff. And oftentimes they're doing research, but they don't actually have the opportunities to get into the application layer. So I find a lot of companies I've been working with, they're kind of at that mix that they want people who have the theory, who work for the big names, who can actually carry this into kind of consumer applications that are being used. So honestly, I think it's good we get that overflow of talent. Usually a lot of these people, they also are kind of remote first. You're not going to get them in the office 5 days a week. So I think it's forcing the old school German companies that oftentimes I work with personally to actually adjust and reconsider, because if you're going to offer 120,000 euros and 5 days in office, you're not getting the best guys in the world. So I think it's also kind of breaking down some existing barriers, culture, mindset that you don't want to die, you don't want to be a dinosaur, you have to adjust to the state of the market.
The point, Alex, is define what is the best guy.
I don't mean necessarily the best guy, but if something is very new and very difficult, there's going to be generally a very small amount of people who understand it or who can actually do something practical with it, right? So,
and here's actually where maybe we can step immediately into some conclusions here. The point, what I'm seeing with AI specifically, is that industry leaders are just trying to do AI. But what are you trying to do with AI? Like, what is AI for you? Is it an opportunity for efficiency? So why do you need an AI expert? Is it actually you will become actually a provider of services related to AI on the infrastructure level, or actually plug in the AI into your team and you're doing software development? And again, why do you need an AI engineer?
Well, I'll give you a really simple example. A couple companies I've been working with also in the defense space, agriculture, drone technology. They're looking to have basically kind of teaming of human and autonomous components in, let's say, whether it's mission control, right? Not just relying on human decisions, or also not letting AI do everything, but obviously the interaction, or do things more efficiently in kind of the methods of communication, the algorithms, that aspect. So kind of optimizing something that's very difficult to do for a couple of people.
And it's very important what you're saying. Then we need to look at which lens are you trying to drive this transformation. The common line between the three stories that we talked about is that you need to know what are you transforming to. In reality, from what you're saying, I want to insource my software capabilities, be it AI, machine learning, or back-end coding, or database, or data analytics, or I want to insource it because it's a critical industry and I want to keep that into my house. That's a driver, actually. It's one of the pillars of my strategy. I want to make sure that I own my software stack because it adds value and it creates value chain to what I'm doing. And I need to do this. This is important for my industry. Then I can follow you on what you're doing. But actually, in many scenarios, so Meta doesn't want to use AI in Facebook. Meta wants to create a super brain. And
they don't know what to do with it yet.
Exactly. So where is the aim? While again, sorry to go back to Elon Musk. Elon Musk said, no, I think people are actually creating propaganda. They are diluting the truth. Agree or disagree, doesn't matter. I have a say. Someone will believe with me, someone will not. But it's fine. I said that. And then I would like to create an engine that is bold, sarcastic, and this engine would only focus on telling the truth. And then there's something here that is being said around this. So one clear thing here with Meta, they need to realign their purpose. And
what I think they need to do is they need to use that AI tool. I think the biggest use case now, Facebook, is Facebook Marketplace, small businesses, advertising on Facebook, right? Why don't you just make your Facebook business suite better? Why don't you help people who have small business who have no marketing experience automatically generate a couple creatives and automatically test those creatives and set up your ad campaigns? And I mean, that's something amazing that they can do. They can drive the cost per clicks down. They can drive a lot of business. That's something that people actually, I would pay a premium to use a good version of the Facebook ads or something like that. That's half on.
Then listen to your customer, what they want from you as well. That's
exactly
one of your customers telling you what he wants. So
that's the only two things I use Facebook for is one, marketplace, if I need to, find something to buy secondhand. And the second thing is running ads to get more customers for my company. So,
and I think like on the underlying cause here, please focus on getting the strategy aligned to a purpose, on a vision. And I don't mean it like it doesn't have a purpose to change the world or like it doesn't have to be big. Just what are we doing? And then the rest will sit on, because what I'm seeing now is like, yeah, I would like to add that the plugin of AI into my call center. Let's hire 10 AI engineers. Yeah, they will leave you anyway at the end of the year because they will not know what you're doing with you, and so on. Or no, like I would like to make my business look sexy. I will call it AI-driven procure to pay.
Yeah,
Or
insert your
whatever it
AI
is.
SaaS name at the end.
Yeah, it's like crazy. So, and I think at the point where I'm trying to close on here with these three problems that we're talking about today, or three issues, or Intel leaders failed to change. They didn't listen to what's happening in their market. Actually, the market was given very loud signals, and they ended up in a situation where I hope they get out of it. Intel is big. It shaped a lot of our. I remember the days when I will get an AMD and Intel CPU, and I was like, no, not AMD, just go to the Intel one. And that, I hope they regenerate this, and that would require a completely new, different set of people, to be honest. The second one, Dish, again, actually stepped in. Hey, government, you stepped in and tried to enforce a company of TV to become telco. Yeah, that wouldn't help. They need to change to be able to be a telco. And then they need to define their strategy and go in. And Mark, again, please, like, look inside again and see what is happening, my friend. It's just like very interesting that 3-4 big moves, they fail. You need to realign the purpose. What is Meta about? And that's same for every entrepreneur around here. It's not about creating a software and then going to the market for why is very important, and why me is very important, and what is my value proposition. If these three are there, then start fighting tooth and nail to what differentiates you, and don't follow any hype. Yeah, like you need to hire 10 AI engineers because they are why? Maybe you need a data analyst first. You need to look at your data first, and then you start moving on what needs to be done. That's what I feel as a common theme between the three chosen stories of this week, if we can call it this way.
I like it. Let's close it off there. And for the next session, we'll have some other juicy news and things that are going to happen in the coming weeks. So thanks for everybody listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Alex.
All right. Take care.